It's LeGarrette Blunt here, man, 3-time Super Bowl champion. I just want to give you a shout out to the YouTube channel, MicroMike, man. Keep on talking everything Detroit Lions, and I just got to remind you, man, happy wife, happy life.
What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Mr. MicroMike, and today I am going to talk about finances and ways to predict what your NFL team will do for the NFL draft, free agency, and off-season when it comes to finances. We all know it's about following the money, folks, and I will do my best to help you out and break down how I predicted what the Detroit Lions were going to do in the NFL draft. If you're a fan of another team, don't hesitate. This will help you predict future acquisitions and moves that your team will do when it comes to finances and economics. Always follow the money. Always follow the money. That's the best way to do it. You hear news and rumors all over the internet, and if you follow the money, you can figure it out yourself. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, and here is the information when it comes to following a team and a franchise when it comes to finances. I wanted to give a breakdown on how I predicted the NFL draft and how I came to the conclusions that I did when it comes to drafting Jeffrey Okudah with that first pick in this draft. And what's good about I'm going to show you here is this is a tool that you can use not just for the draft, but you can use it for free agency, you can use it for the next year and the years following. It was so good about understanding finances is you always want to follow the money. And there's so many rumors, there's so much information going out when it pertains to your specific franchise. You're going to hear rumors, possibly your quarterback getting traded, or players getting traded, or signing players, whatever. You hear it all on the news media sites. And to kind of give an idea of possibly, is the rumor true, or is it completely false, just follow the money and take the time to look at what you got going on with your specific franchise for your team. And when it comes to myself, I have a business degree in economics. I really liked microeconomics, thus you get my name, and I really enjoyed macroeconomics as well. And so I took my business approach and I decided to dive deep into the Detroit Lions for the past 3 years. And because you always want to follow trends. When it comes to business, if you know anyone, it's very important to follow trends. If you're trying to start a business, you don't look at the first year amount possibly you're going to receive. You want to look at the first year, third year, fifth year, 10 year. And that will give you a chance to see the trends. You know, is your business going to be successful? You need to get loans from a bank. You have to have a business plan. And banks, they want to see trends for your business for year 1, 3, 5, and 10. It's important. If you want to get that loan, you need to have a quality business plan. You need to have trends that are actually legit trends. Now, I had a business with my wife when we started that a couple years ago. I'd say about 8 years ago, and it was important for me to create a business plan and see, is this thing going to succeed? And after I created the business plan, it was actually my thesis for economics, then it showed that it was actually really good, and so we did it and it worked. We're no longer in the business anymore, but it was fun while it lasted, and we made a lot of money doing so. Just very, very stressful. So I took this approach with the Detroit Lions. Now, unfortunately, when I initially did this, I did have a 3-year trend. I had 2020, I had 2019, but for whatever reason now, 2020 is not showing up for here. As you can see, 2018 is not showing up, 2019 and 2020 is. It's making me have to do a premium account and pay for it. So I'm not going to do that. I use the site Spot Track for my information when it comes to the team. But when I initially did it, it was 3 years. So right now, what I'm showing you is going to be 2 years, but it was 3 years. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty and how I kind of figured this thing out. So I knew we were going defense. We needed defensive help. Our defense ranked 31. So for this tutorial here, I'm just showing you defense. But I actually did offense as well, and that's where I came up with the idea that they needed to get a running back, as well as they needed to get a guard, and hopefully doubled up on guard. And they did. And so the kind of code that I did was basically just finances. That's it. So for the 2019 cap space, we had 7 defensive tackles, and all the cap here added up, it's equal sum. That's the code there, and I just equal sum it, and it came to 15,186,000. Okay, and so for a total of 7 players for this amount. So that's actually quite a bit of defensive tackles for 2019 situation. So I wanted to look then at the linebacker position. So again, we had 8 linebackers, and we had a total of 15 million, around 15 million, again, equals sum, and that's what the amount was. Okay, so I was like, okay, cornerback position. We had 8 cornerbacks with an equal sum of 23 million. 23,600,000. So safety position, we had 5 safeties, again equal sum to around a little over 5 million. In defensive ends, 6 with a total of a little over 9 million, again equals sum. So when I did the 2018 numbers, I can't remember it. It's extremely difficult to come up, and I want to be 100% accurate. So I want to see the trend, but the trend was very, very similar to this, nearly exact. When it comes to the amount for each position, it was almost exact. So the trend was the same. So then I decided to, okay, what do we got for the 2020 cap space? Obviously the roster is not complete because you don't have, the free agency is not over, and the NFL draft didn't even start when I did this. So I took the numbers from before the NFL draft. And so this is what we got here, folks. We had only 4 defensive tackles with amount total of a little over 8 million. Okay, so obviously we're lacking on the defensive tackle position. However, the linebacker position, we had a net 1 with over almost 18 million. So a net above the 2019 and 2018 numbers. The cornerback position, you're going to see a big dip here. So we had only 7 cornerbacks with only 13,200,000. That is a giant difference of 10 million. So we are lacking in the cornerback position, not only with roster spot, but a giant 10 million difference. To me, that was a huge red flag. And so we had only 5 safeties, the same amount, but we had a net positive of nearly 3 million. So we're paying more this year so far in 3 million before the NFL draft. Okay, so a net negative giant before the draft of cornerback, and a net positive 3 million before the draft. In the defensive end position, we were lacking 1 defensive end, but our amount we were paying out was huge. So we're basically almost 120% more paying in 2020 for the defensive end position than we did in the 2019 and 2018 rosters. So again, a massive positive of defensive tackle. So we needed defensive tackles big league. Okay, we needed 3 to be the trend, and we had an excess of 6,584,000. So we have the money. So when it comes to the trends, we've spent almost 6.5 more for the past 2 years than we have so far before the draft. So what I'm trying to say is we have money to spend through the trends for the defensive tackle position. When we switched to the linebacker position, it was the opposite. We actually have a net influx of one more linebacker, and we're spending $2 million more this year than we have in 2018 and 2019. So that means, to me, that gave me idea, we're not going to draft a linebacker high. We can take a defensive tackle high, but we're probably not going to take a linebacker high because we have a net positive of 1, and we're spending $2 million more than we have. So then I jumped to the cornerback position. This was the biggest jump to me. So we actually needed another cornerback for this roster, even though we picked up Desmond Trufant and we drafted Amani Oruwariye. We still needed a cornerback, and per the money, we needed to spend a lot of money for the cornerback position. We have a net influx of $10.3 million. That is the biggest jump on this trend-setting statistic that I've seen. Again, the 2018 numbers is in here, but it's very similar to 2019. So a huge influx. So I jumped to the safety position, and we have the same amount of safeties we had in 2019, 2018 that we do in 2020. No difference. But we're still spending $3.2 million more. So that is, wow. So we've had 5 safeties on the roster the last 2 years. We have 5 safeties now, but we're spending more. Probably not going to take a safety high in the 2020 draft. And I looked at the 2019, the 2020, and we needed a defensive end. We were -1 defensive end, but we were paying $13 million more. So, and this is due to the Trey Flowers contract, by the way. So we needed to get a defensive end, but we are paying premium for defensive end. So what does that suggest to me? Draft a defensive end, but not high. What did we do? We took Julian Akwara in the draft. Now he's somewhat of a hybrid, but this was giving me the idea of, okay, what is the trends showing? The trends is we need a defensive tackle, we need a cornerback, most definitely. To me, that was the biggest things that jumped out. And so when I did my prediction, I said Jeffrey Okudah would be the third pick, or would be the pick. I didn't necessarily think it'd be the third pick. Possibly that you could trade down. But I gave taking the cornerback a 52% ratio compared to the defensive tackle at a 48, because you simply look as we need more money spent on the cornerback position than we do defensive tackle. And so this is what I came up with. And so we were hurting for certain for cornerback. We were hurting for the defensive tackle position, but we were not hurting for the linebacker position. We were not hurting for the safety position, and we were not hurting for the defensive end position. Thus, my conclusion is the Lions were going to take a cornerback in the 2020 draft. I did the same thing with the offense position, and I said they would take a running back as well, and I said they would take a defensive tackle. Now, what's good about this trend is we are not done in free agency. We took a defensive tackle late in this draft, but if you look, we still need to spend some money for the defensive tackle position, and that's why I believe that the Detroit Lions are going to go after maybe someone like a Marcel Darius in a trend like that. And so we still have money to spend. These positions are covered. Okay, we drafted a defensive end with Aguara. Our safety position was done. The linebacker position seems to be done at this point. Maybe they pick up a small individual, but we are now good with the cornerback positions through the draft, but we still need help at the defensive tackle position. And this is how I figured it out, guys. And I just went by following the money. And what's good about this is now we can kind of look at the future for our respected teams. We still need help at the defensive tackle position. And we still need bodies there as well. Now, this is not counting the individual that we drafted this year. But the money for a seventh round defensive tackle is nothing. So we still need help here. And this is how I came up with the idea of they possibly are going to take a defensive tackle left in free agency. And this is how I came up with the solution, guys. So always follow the money. Always follow the money. If you follow the money, you'll find out everything you need to know about. Everything you need to know about. And that's the best thing about it. And so when we see rumors, when it comes to pro football talk or anything else about your respected team, go to the cap space and take the time, if you have the time, to look at what the money is showing. Again, you can go to Spot Track for this. They have a very good website when it comes to breaking down your team's cap space. Okay, so again, this can be utilized in many different facets, and I really hope you understood this a little bit. And if not, let me know. Leave a comment in my description. I can send you ways how to do this. Again, it's extremely easy to do the formulas if you're not used to Excel. Simply do the formulas, and now equal sum is very easy. You can do there's many different formulas, but this is extremely basic. I'm not going to throw anything at you that is extremely to a different level, but it's extremely basic. Follow the money, and you can predict what your team is generally going to do. So instead of listening to the rumors, just take the time and look for it yourself. And that's the best source. The best source is yourself and looking at it. Generally the rumors that we hear in the media is just rumors and just that. So if you take the time, you can predict what they're going to do. So with that said, folks, I appreciate you taking the time. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and adios.